Well, good Friday morning. I'm Jeff Coleman.
And I'm Deborah Pinkerton. Welcome to Morning Light.
Well, Hurricane Milton left a path of destruction across Florida. The monster storm is blamed now for at least 16 deaths and 2.5 million people still without power. First responders have rescued about 1,000 people who were trapped in the floodwaters.
I have friends in Bradenton, and they said that the 115-mile-per-hour winds really sounded like a freight train moving throughout the area for hours.
Scary stuff.
Yeah, so fortunate they are safe today. But before our Morning Light panel tackles the headlines, today's show will allow you to put your faith into action, to walk alongside several Central Pennsylvania nonprofits who are stepping up to help those affected by these massive hurricanes.
But it is Friday, October 11th, and across Pennsylvania, churches and faith-based nonprofits are mobilizing resources, donating, volunteering to help people they've never met in places they may never visit. One estimate puts the annual contributions from Christians at $100 billion. Organizations like the Salvation Army, the Red Cross, Catholic Charities, and World Vision all trace their origins to Christian teaching on caring for our neighbors. So as ministries struggle to maintain that mission without compromise, what can or should be done to protect them?
And something does need to be done to protect them because these agencies are vital.
You can't imagine putting $100 billion on the tax rolls. It'd be pretty expensive.
That's absolutely right. Well, during yesterday's panel, we explored the multi-million-dollar political texting industry. Sensational messages used to raise money and collect data. But today, AI-generated images are adding another layer of confusion to those concerned about loved ones in storm-ravaged areas. Fake images have gone viral. Are these images harmless fun, or are they ethical questions to consider before we like and share?
Seems like the technology is almost outpacing the ethics. We haven't really thought through what it means to share a fake image.
Right, and they are unethical.
Yeah. Well, after her husband Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated, Ethel Kennedy dedicated her days to raising 11 children and leading the Kennedys' philanthropic work. The New York Times reports the day after her husband's death, Ethel said, "We're placed on earth and somehow given a sense of responsibility to give life and love to help others." So, in the wake of her death, what does her life say to those struggling to balance personal goals and ambitions while raising children with a purpose bigger than self? But first, let's get back to our big story this morning and go to North Carolina. It's not just Florida that is reeling from the impacts of Milton and Helene. Georgia, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and Virginia were also hit pretty hard. Davis Yance, a military defense attorney, appeared on our panel a few weeks ago. Davis, welcome back. He's volunteering with his family in North Carolina, helping with the cleanup, and joins us by Zoom this morning. Good morning, Davis.
Hey, good morning.
So first, a big question, why did you go down? This is a prime time for school. There's a lot of responsibilities. You're a busy attorney. How did you do it and why did you do it?
Yeah, God works things out in strange ways. We were supposed to come to Excel College in Black Mountain, North Carolina, small town, about 20 minutes east of Asheville, North Carolina, for my oldest daughter's college visit here to Excel. And obviously that was changed. There's still in Black Mountain, there's a lot of people without water and electricity, but we were in contact with the school and they said they could use help. So we got donations as a family. We filled up a pickup truck that we borrowed from Centurion Construction Group in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania. And we were able to come down and help. So what you see behind me is the main part of the campus here at Excel College, their main classroom building. And you have tents set up, a huge tent that was set up even before the disaster. God worked it out that this was here. But this is a distribution center. So this distribution center, totally set up, run by the college, primarily with college students as volunteers, getting everything you can imagine out to the people that need it. So there are towns here, small towns like Old Fort that's about 5 minutes down the road, just completely devastated. The river there came up out of the banks. It moved houses. It destroyed churches and all of that. So this is one of the places that's up on the mountain here was spared. And so they're able to, they have electricity here now. They have water here. So we're able to use this as a distribution center. So you have church vans, you have minivans, you have pickup trucks coming in, you have Jeeps coming in and getting supplies from here to areas that are more affected, that are harder to get into. We're expecting a semi from Pennsylvania, from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, semi full of goods that'll be unloaded here on this pad this afternoon. And then Mercury One, Glenn Beck's charity, is going to be donating 75 generators here to this site this weekend. So that's
Davis.
fantastic.
Thank you for taking a minute away from the work there this morning. God bless you. Thanks for what you're doing, and thanks for joining Morning Light this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We'll see you again soon. Well, we now turn to our Morning Light panel this morning. Back with us this morning, Senator Ryan Aument, Pastor Joshua Robertson, and Pastor Dave Biser. Gentlemen, you saw that. This is amazing. $100 billion of Christian charity every year, and this is probably adding to that number exponentially whenever there is a big crisis. But Christian ministries are always under this constant pressure of saying, the world would like us to conform in a certain way, perhaps change our mission a little bit, maybe to get some government money. There are strings generally attached to that. What do we need to do to protect the mission of Christian faith-based nonprofits?
Yeah, this is critically important work, and certainly government ought not get in the way of that. And there is a role for government. There's a role for government to determine what does constitute a charitable enterprise for the purpose of taxation, what meets that definition. But outside of that, we really ought to, by and large, get out of the way and ensure these organizations can not just practice their faith or not just abide by their faith or not proclaim their faith, but actually be able to practice it at the heart of what they do.
Josh, is that a challenge, balancing that? I mean, you're on the front end of the school choice debate. Your church is being transformed into a place of help and mercy and education for the community around on Allison Hill. Is that a difficult thing to straddle sometimes, with the government saying, in order to do this, you've got to do this?
Absolutely. I think as Christians, we have to live in that tension of regulations, but also, I think, you don't have freedom without boundaries. So, but I think God is the creator, has made his creation to be creative. And so I think we have to think about creative solutions to get the work done, no matter what the obstacles are.
What advice do you have to Christian organizations who are saying, hey, we'd love to do this Christian mission, but we're concerned about having to compromise the core of who we are in order to do it legally?
Well, I think every opportunity to do some kind of missional work is an opportunity to speak the gospel of Jesus Christ, to bring the message of love and care. And sometimes you don't do that with words, you do it with action, and allow the Holy Spirit to do what the Holy Spirit does much better than we do, and that is permeate and penetrate into people's lives. And sometimes we're just used as the vehicle.
So you can do it
I think we
without
get
fear.
overcritical that, I wasn't able to say something,
right,
but I was able to do something. And I think that doing sometimes speaks louder than our words.
I think when you see a family like Davis's and others who are just picking up and doing it, you say, let's just start there. Just do something. Right. Fake AI images have added a whole layer of complexity in the last couple days. There are these images of Disney World submerged underwater. They're fake. They're images of a beautiful little girl clutching a puppy in the middle of a river. It's fake. You've got President Donald Trump wading through waters. And I've watched the online debate explode over whether or not he really was there. And some people say, well, of course it might be a fake image, but that's what he really wanted to do. How do you, in politics and these other forums, knowing that technology is out there, can create any reality that you want? What is the ethics behind that?
Yeah,
right?
it's a real challenge to get our arms around this emerging technology. It's emerging so quickly. And I'll give you another real life example we're dealing with in real time in Lancaster County, where you have a school where artificial intelligence, AI, was utilized to create fake pornographic images of students in a school, student to student. Horrific. And so certainly, when there's an intent to deceive, when there is an intent to do harm, I think there certainly is a role for government to criminalize some of that behavior.
Talk to people who are thinking about sharing or liking some content online, and they're not quite sure whether that's a real soldier, a real president, a real person, a real actor holding that sign or wearing that hat. What do you think?
In all things we have to exercise caution and wisdom. I think that's what we've been asked to do as believers.
But it's just
right?
fun. It's just good, clean fun, right?
It goes beyond that. Throwing a snowball at somebody's face could be good, clean fun, but it's going to hurt, right?
Yeah.
There's things that, what does Scripture say? say, I'm allowed to do all things, but not all things are beneficial, right? And so if we use that as our model, as we use that as our filter, I think Scripture will tell us what to do and how to be cautious.
Sit in front of those grandmothers and mothers who often are in front of their social media, and grandfathers and dads not excluded there, but who are sharing content that's a little iffy, but they may not have thought through the ethics of it.
Well, first, I don't know if we can legislate ethics. So that's the first thing. I don't know if that's even possible.
But what's the advice to?
Well, my advice is to be a discerning people, right? Like, we shouldn't just be a captive audience to whatever comes past our screen. We have to be a thinking people. And so I think critical thinking has to be on the menu for today. And that we take responsibility for the images that we view and our opinions.
Take care before you share.
I think
that's a
we've
good
been told
bumper
to be
sticker.
perceptive and aware, right?
A wonderful mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. We lost her at 96 yesterday, Ethel Kennedy, the matriarch of the Kennedy family. The Kennedy family, given their lives to service, certainly political divisions emerge whenever you say the name Kennedy. But Ethel Kennedy is an example of someone who dedicated herself to motherhood, raising 11 kids, one that came after RFK left this earth. Ryan, your thoughts on Ethel Kennedy this morning?
I think we sometimes forget how young they were in the 1960s. Ethel Kennedy was an incredibly influential figure in her husband's life. Reportedly, I'd never met her, but according to what I've read, was one of those urging him to run for president in 1968 at a time they fully knew the risks of doing so, the risks of potentially the political consequences of blowing up the Democratic Party, running against the sitting president, the physical dangers, but was a solid voice, providing counsel and advice to her husband. At the same time, late 30s, early 40s, raising, as you've said, 11 children. Obviously very committed to a life of service, obviously very committed to her husband, and had an incredible distinguished career of service. Clearly her Catholicism was a significant influence, was a real engine for her and her husband in a way that doesn't appear to have been as much the case with Senator Ted Kennedy or even President Kennedy.
Right, interesting. How do you raise kids like Kennedy's? And I mean it in this way, not all the sensational or the scandalous stuff, but to say our life isn't about ourselves, but it is about service and serving others. How do you do that in your ministry, Josh?
Very simply, follow Jesus, right? When you look at Jesus, he looked at our sin not as a repellent to stay away, but as a magnet to draw closer. Wow. He had a vision for more than himself. He wanted to see us connected to himself. He wanted to see peace among the people who he loved. And I think adopting that communal vision for all of us, I think is the key to peace in this world. So I commend her and her life of doing what it really means to be a Christian, which means following Jesus.
Last 30 seconds, tell us what it means to do what he just said, to follow Jesus.
My daughter gave me the greatest compliment when she told an incoming pastor. She said, I have one piece of advice: be at home what people see on the pulpit. Wow. And she said that's what my dad did, and it made all the difference, right? I think it's that consistency and integrity that we have to bring, and I think that's what we saw in her life. In her 90-some years, we saw an integrity. You don't leave the house without being informed at home of what it means to be a believer and to live that life fully and completely, and it starts at home. And that's what she did.
It seemed to me that she was always reminding her children that this life isn't about you, that it's about service, it's about others. So, gentlemen, thank you for being on the panel this week. We learned and grew a lot, I think, from our conversation, and I'll extend the invitation for you to come back anytime. Glad to have you. Thank you. Thanks to our Morning Light panel for joining us today. Weren't they great? Coming up next on Morning Light, Mennonite Disaster Service is ready to respond to the aftermath of Hurricane Milton. The executive director just returned from North Carolina, hit hard by Hurricane Helene. We'll talk to him up next.
Mennonite Disaster Service recruits, organizes, and empowers volunteers to repair and rebuild homes of those impacted by disasters. Volunteers have been on the ground helping those in North Carolina, and Florida is next. Joining me is Kevin King, Executive Director of Mennonite Disaster Service. Thanks for being with us, Kevin. Talk to us about Mennonite Disaster Service.
Yeah, Mennonite Disaster Service is a volunteer network of Anabaptist churches. Now, what's an Anabaptist church? Well, these include people from Amish to Old Order Mennonite to Progressive Mennonites. But we often say you don't have to be a Mennonite to serve with MDS, Mennonite Disaster Service. In fact, we say, give us 2 hands and 2 feet, and we're going to make you tired before the day's over. So these volunteers come on a daily or a weekly or a monthly basis, and we respond to disasters throughout U.S. and Canada. So our national headquarters is just down the road here in Lancaster County. And so we're gearing up this fall to respond to many other disasters throughout the U.S. Fires, floods, tornadoes, and of course the most recent, Hurricane Helene and Milton.
And how do you share the gospel when you're volunteering?
Well, we often say, and our vision is to be the hands and feet of Jesus. I can give you an example. Last week when I was in Hurricane, I have to even pause to think, Helene. And there we were bringing in crews from Lancaster County, chainsaws, debris removal, skid steer loaders, grapplers, backhoes, also from Ohio and New York. There we were cleaning up, and the fire chiefs in these different fire precincts asked us to clear the roads. One morning I was sitting by a hardware store, closed, and I was sitting there gaining my bearings as to where to go next, and a couple walked up to me and saw the logo on my pickup and said, "Disaster." I said, "Yeah." I said, "How can I help you?" "Oh," she said, "you can't help me." "Well, what's up?" "Oh," she said, "before the storm hit, the night before, we lost our son in a motorcycle accident, 20 years old. We medevaced him to Charlotte, harvested the organs. He's back, but now I can't get a hold of our relatives. No phone, no food, no fuel." And so there we were. I stepped out of the pickup. I asked him if I could pray with them, and tears, we all cried in a prayer. The gentleman said, "Do you have a chainsaw?" I said, "Well, that's what we're here for," in that early response. And so I ended up going to his house. He said, "Well, my father lives up the road here and he's dying of leukemia, but the trees are down and if an ambulance comes, they can't get it." That's the hands-on practical way that our volunteers serve. And just, in fact, I say sometimes when we're in these disaster zones, we should take our shoes off because we're on holy ground. How God's Spirit works through us in hands-on practical ways, bringing compassion. We're living out the Scripture, helping a neighbor in need, truly someone, you might say, that is in dire straits.
Oh my goodness, talk about timing, God's timing, that
Absolutely.
You were there to help them. And when we were talking earlier, you mentioned you had seen them later then in the week.
All right. Yeah, going down these narrow, well, what you call streets, some of them are washed out, the bridges, the culverts are washed out. And I saw them passing in a van and they squealed to a halt and they backed up and they were smiling. And I said, "I'm still thinking about you." And the gentleman, the husband, a man of few words, says, "I'm still thinking about you too as well. Thank you." So you never know how God uses us in these moments. And that's the ministry of Mennonite, these 6,000 and 7,000 volunteers that come and serve in these times of disaster and rebuilding phase. Mennonite Disaster Service is really about recovery, but rarely do we do early response, but in this case we did. Milton and Helene, we were there right after the search and rescue crews, and it's quite an effective ministry talking to the homeowners, the disaster survivors.
Oh, what a powerful story. We certainly appreciate you sharing the message, and I'm sure the volunteers, you definitely need more volunteers.
We have a waiting list, and we'll need them down through the fall and winter because we are gearing up for 17 different locations. We're still in Mayfield, Kentucky, tornadoes of December of 2021. We're in the floods and fires of Texas, Louisiana. I could go on, but as you understand, so we do need volunteers. Come on a Sunday night and work. You don't have to be skilled. You don't have to be Mennonite or Amish. Sign up at mds.org.
Great.
Or if you can't go, donate.
Great. Kevin, thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Most welcome. Thank you for this opportunity to share how God is using ordinary people
Right.
in extraordinary ways.
Absolutely, perfectly said.
Yeah.
And if you would like to make a donation or volunteer with Mennonite Disaster Service, visit mds.org. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Central Pennsylvania has a number of nonprofits who are putting their faith into action. One is a short distance from our studios. We're here at Mission Central in Mechanicsburg. Behind these doors, volunteers are serving God and putting their faith into action. Let's go inside. Joining me is Hope Harrison, Executive Director of Mission Central. Talk to me about Mission Central.
Sure. So Mission Central's mission is connecting God's resources with human need. We're a 48,000 square foot warehouse, and basically what we do is we take all kinds of goods and services and then we resource those to nonprofits who are doing boots on the ground work. And that can be locally, nationally, or around the world.
So talk to us about what's taking place with Hurricane Helene, the aftermath. How are you helping the victims there?
Sure. So we're part of a 7-warehouse nationwide network for disaster response. And all year long, we collect items specifically for kits that go out then when there's a call, weather-related disaster call. And so right now with Helene, these buckets behind us are all filled with materials that will go out for someone who's experienced a flood, and then will need to muck out their house, and that first kind of little glimmer of hope as they're repairing. We also do a lot of other kits that go to those as well. The way we work is that organizations, FEMA, PEMA, anything like that will call us and tell us what they need, and then we send it out because we're preparing all year long for a disaster.
So we have a bucket in front of us. Why don't you tell us show us what's inside?
Sure. So there's lots of different things inside. Basically, this is everything you need when you're starting that cleanup. So these are reusable wipes. We have all different kinds of gloves. We have some clothespins and masks. Obviously, if you have a mold situation going on, you're going to need the masks. These are N95 masks. Clothesline to go with the clothespins. Lots of different cleaners. So we have dish cleaner, we have laundry detergent, we have bug spray, because unfortunately that's part of the situation when there's that. Just some household cleaner, garbage bags, and scrubbing pads and things like that. And so in addition to the bucket itself, which is very useful when you're cleaning up. If not, we've heard from different people who've experienced floods, it's not just to put water in, but sometimes they don't even have a seat, so they can use it for a stool as they're taking a break.
So now we're watching Hurricane Milton. So what would be the plan of attack for this?
So we continue to prepare. We have volunteers that come in every day to prepare buckets and other kits. And then after Milton happens, people will go in, the first responders, to see what the devastation is. And then they'll call us and let us know what they need, and we'll send it out immediately.
So for our viewers who are watching, what is needed? How can they help you?
So if you go to our website, it's www.missioncentral.org, or our Facebook or Instagram pages, you'll see some information on the cleanup from Helene. What we're doing right now, we're asking people to do drives for the supplies for the buckets. Also, monetary donations help us to be able to get the supplies that we need. And lastly, we always need people to help to prepare the items, so they can reach out if they'd like to volunteer as well.
So volunteers are needed, putting your faith into action.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have about 4,000 to 5,000 volunteers a year, and they all believe deeply in what Mission Central does, and connecting God's resources with human need is what we do every day. And so it's really important to us to live out our faith through that.
And it must make you feel good that it's happening. You're making a difference.
We know the staff here is committed, and every day we know that we're making a difference in the world, and so that's what keeps us coming.
Thank you so much, Hope.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
We appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
And as you heard Hope say, donations and volunteers are always welcome. To learn more, visit missioncentral.org. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Morning Light. Well, his name was Bond. Thomas Bond, an American physician who founded the Pennsylvania Hospital in 1751, years before America was the United States of America. Its mission? To care for the sick and poor free of charge. But Bond didn't just start a hospital because he was a good guy. He was kind. He was a Christian who cared about medical care for pregnant women and the humane treatment of people suffering from mental illness. His model taken straight from the pages of the New Testament, from the Scriptures, and the story of the Good Samaritan. In fact, right here, right there, on the seal of the Pennsylvania hospital are these words, "Take care of him, and I will repay thee." You remember those words? Why do followers of Jesus do good without exception? That too is in the Bible. We love because He first loved us. That's at the root system of American philanthropy. That's what you saw in Davis this morning. That's what you saw from the disaster response services we heard from today. What a legacy, and it's alive and well here in Pennsylvania. For Deborah and the entire Morning Light team, I'm Jeff Coleman. Thanks for watching this week and spending this time with us. God willing, we'll see you again Monday morning.